Survival mode has nothing to do with our circumstances. It is actually a state of being. It is a subconscious program that kicks in and turns on during moments of stress and overwhelm. So let's say something bad happens, like you get a big bill in the mail. Suddenly you're flooded with fear and doubt. Oh my God, I'm not going to have enough money. I'm going to be broke. I'm going to end up homeless, right? Your whole system is flooded, and then the coping mechanisms kick in. Then you want to do something drastic or do something desperate, or maybe you just want to check out to soothe your nervous system. So those coping mechanisms could look like going back to an old toxic job, or going back to an old relationship that you know isn't good for you anymore, or sticking your head in a pint of Ben and Jerry's to soothe your nervous system. Or maybe you even self-sabotage because you're so flooded with fear and doubt in that moment that you think whatever you're trying to do isn't going to work out for you anyway. So you just scrap the whole thing. So this is what happens when a stressful event comes and our subconscious program of survival mode kicks in, and then we default to these reactions, to these coping mechanisms, whatever they may be. So I want to give you 3 steps to help you move through this process and get out of survival mode and align your energy in a state of balance and peace. So the first one is to catch yourself in the act. So when the bad thing happens, you get the news or you get the bill in the mail and you're having a meltdown and you're freaking out and you're worried that you're going to end up alone, or you're not going to have enough money, you're going to die, like something is really flooding your system. Identify the limiting belief. Instead of trying to fix things in that moment of stress and overwhelm, instead of trying to be positive and to override this internal feeling of dread that you're feeling, just pause and identify the limiting belief. What am I really afraid of here? What do I really think is happening? What am I fearing as my worst possible outcome? Sometimes we think, well, I'm afraid if I don't text him back that he's going to think I'm not interested in the relationship, or I'm afraid if I stop looking for jobs that I'll never find one. Those are the surface level beliefs. We want to go a little bit deeper and continually ask ourselves, yeah, but if that happens, then what? The fundamental belief is usually something like, I am not worthy. I'm not worthy of love. I don't think there is enough money, time, resources, whatever. I don't think that life is going to support me. So just continue asking yourself those questions. What am I afraid of? And if that happens, then what is the deeper belief? And if that takes place, then what is the deeper belief? Until you get to that core belief. And then just sit with it. You don't have to do anything. Just breathe and sit with it. Just feel the feelings, because what's happening is your system is being flooded with chaotic energy, and you want to allow this energy to come up in your body and to dissipate. We want the charge to dissipate. So you just allow it to happen. And breathing is the process that moves this energy through your body. This is the transmutation process. It's not just like something that relaxes you, like, oh, take a load off, take a breath. No. Breathing actually allows that energy to move through your system. There is a part of yourself that truly is scared, that is truly in fear and doubt. And you don't want to resist this part. You want to integrate with this part. So you do that through loving yourself and just allowing these feelings to come up. Okay, I got a big bill in the mail. I am having a total emotional meltdown. I am freaking the F out. I think I'm going to die. Let me just breathe. Before I go get that beer in the fridge or whatever it is, let me just breathe and just feel what I'm feeling and what is the belief that's coming up. Okay, I'm going to die. It's usually at the core, that's what we're all afraid of, right? We're going to die. It's the fear of death. So just identify what it is for you in that moment. Go as deep as you can and then love yourself. That is so important. When we feel ourselves in these moments of stress and overwhelm, we don't want to override it and bulldoze these parts of ourselves that are scared. Love yourself in the fear. Love yourself in the emotional meltdown. Love yourself. Love the part of yourself that thinks you're not going to make it. That is so key. Just look at it like a small child. You wouldn't smack the small child and say, don't be scared. You would cradle it, hopefully, and love it and say, it's okay. It's going to be okay, right? Don't worry. So do that with yourself. Offer yourself tons of compassion and show yourself grace during these moments, right? When you're like, oh, I am freaking out. I do think I'm going to die. Okay, let me just love myself right here, right now, and remember to breathe. And the last step that is really helpful to get yourself out of survival mode is to have faith. Faith is so important. It is not a nice to have. It is not a supplemental woo-woo concept. It is literally something that you're already doing. What you're doing when you're freaking out and you think the worst thing is going to happen is you are having faith in the unseen negative outcome. And what you want to do is flip that whole thing and instead have faith in the unseen positive outcome. Either way, you're having faith. Either way, you are trusting in the unseen, in something that is not actually happening in this now moment. But if you can be mindful to just step back, lean back into faith, and allow Source, God, Spirit to come in and help you out, to co-create with you, it not only raises your vibration, but it allows for higher insights to come in, right? Because when you're freaking out and you're in survival mode, you are ready to make a desperate decision, or you're ready to default to your old coping mechanisms and go back to your old ways. None of that's really going to help you out in the long term in your life. So faith and trust and faith in the positive outcome is actually the vehicle. It is the mechanism itself that gets you from the paradigm of lack and scarcity to the paradigm of abundance and possibilities. It is absolutely essential. And remember that you made it up until this moment. And no matter what challenge you're facing, chances are you're probably going to make it through. Not only that, you are stronger and you are wiser and you have more experience with each moment that you're in this body. So you have a pretty good chance of coming out in the positive. And faith is what's really going to pull you into that higher paradigm. So to have a quick recap, we want to catch ourselves in the moment when we are defaulting into survival mode. And that moment is a moment of stress and overwhelm. Before we fall back in the coping mechanism, we just want to pause and breathe and identify our limiting beliefs, and then just sit with them and allow them to be there and keep breathing. And we want to show ourselves tons of compassion, make it all okay no matter what, because we deserve love. These parts of ourselves deserve love. And then we want to lean back into faith, trust in God, trust in the unseen positive outcome. And that is in itself the vehicle that pulls us in to the higher paradigm of abundance and possibilities. If we do this process repeatedly, it really helps us not only realign our energy in the moment, but it shifts our core frequency. Chances are something is going to happen next week and you might, default back into survival mode again. So it's not something we do just one time. It is like going to the gym. We need practice at it. So every time we start freaking out, we're like, oh God, let me go back to the old job. I'm going to run to the refrigerator or self-sabotage or whatever it is. Just pause and Breathe in. What am I afraid of here? And then show yourself love and show yourself compassion and keep breathing and allowing that energy to go through. And then lean back into faith, faith in the unseen positive outcome, because you deserve more just because you exist. You don't have to fight and claw your way through life. You don't have to grip reality so tight and micromanage everything. And you definitely don't have to make another desperate decision. And then once your energy is realigned, then you can reassess and make a new decision, make a better decision from an aligned place. And this process repeated over time is really going to teach your system and your emotional body that you are safe and you are worthy of more. It will help you get yourself out of survival mode. And at some point, it will no longer be your default, right? When the shit hits the fan, you will eventually be like, oh, look, everything's crumbling around me right now. I must be leveling up. Good things must be on the horizon because this paradigm no longer works for me. And you're going to have the total opposite reaction. You're going to be like, cool, it's raining cats and dogs. Right on. I am headed for even better things. So I hope that this transmission landed with you. I hope you got some insight out of it. And I am super grateful for your presence. Thank you for listening. And I will see you in the next one. Bye.